If a thermometer gave you two different readings for the same glass of water, you'd throw it away. A measuring instrument that contradicts itself is by definition broken. Now ask yourself this. If you went to a doctor, received a diagnosis, and then 2 weeks later, without telling them, went back with the exact same symptoms, would you get the same diagnosis? Almost everyone says yes, but the research says something very different. And not because doctors aren't trustworthy or competent, but because there's a hidden source of error in human judgment that even the best experts can't see in themselves. This video is about what it is, why it stays invisible, and what we can do about it. There are two fundamentally different ways people can get things wrong. The first is bias. A racist hiring manager will systematically disadvantage certain candidates. An overconfident analyst will consistently overestimate returns. Bias is a systematic deviation from the truth. It pulls decisions in a predictable direction. And because it's predictable, it is at least in principle correctable. The second type of error is much harder to detect. Researchers call it noise. Noise is random error, the variability in judgment that has nothing to do with the facts or the case and everything to do with the circumstances of the moment. The weather outside, the time of day, what you had for lunch. The truth doesn't depend on any of this, but it can change the verdict. That is what makes noise so hard to conceptualize and so easy to ignore. Imagine 4 teams of riflemen shooting at a target. The first team's shots cluster tightly around the bullseye. High accuracy, low noise. This is what a good system looks like. The second team's shots are tightly clustered, but they're all in the bottom left corner. This is the bias system. The diagnosis? The rifle is slightly bent. The error is consistent and predictable. If you know the bias, you can correct for it. Aim up and to the right and you'll hit the target. The third team's shots are scattered all over the target. Some high, some low, some far left, some far right. The average of all the shots is actually the bullseye, but no single shot is accurate. This is noise. The shooter has shaky hands. The error is random. You cannot predict where the next shot will land, because there is no pattern to predict. The fourth team combines both, scattered and consistently off-center. High bias, high noise. The worst of both worlds. But let's turn back to just noise and look at some examples from the real world. In one study, over 200 federal judges were given a set of 16 identical hypothetical criminal cases and asked to assign a sentence to each one. Every judge received the same information, but the sentences varied widely. For the same fraud case, one judge assigned 3 years. Another assigned 20. The average difference between 2 randomly selected judges on the same case was approximately 3.5 years of a person's life, determined not by the facts of the case, but by which judge happened to be on duty that day. But the inconsistency doesn't stop between judges. Individual judges are inconsistent with themselves. The same judge, the same crime, different day, different outcome. Research shows sentences get longer on hot days and harsher after the local football team loses. A judge who slept badly the night before may add years to someone's sentence without even knowing it. Medicine shows a similar picture. One study tracked how doctors prescribe antibiotics throughout the day. They found that, in the morning, doctors follow the guidelines. Antibiotics only when necessary. But as the hours pass and decisions accumulate, something shifts. By the afternoon, the same doctor is prescribing antibiotics for viral infections where antibiotics actually do nothing. More striking, when radiologists review the same angiograms on 2 separate occasions, they disagree with their own previous diagnosis between 20 and 30% of the time. Not with a colleague, with themselves. The image hasn't changed. The underlying biology hasn't changed. The expert has. And hiring, the domain most people interact with personally, may be the loudest noise factory of all. Interviewers typically form an impression within the first 4 minutes and spend the rest of the conversation constructing a justification for it. A qualified candidate rejected at 4:30 on a Friday might have been hired at 9 on a Tuesday morning. The rejected candidate assumes they weren't good enough. The company assumes they have a good hiring system going on. The noise is invisible to everyone. So why don't we see noise? Why does it persist even when the costs are enormous and the people making decisions are trained professionals? Because a noisy decision never feels noisy. It feels like a judgment. This is precisely why noise is invisible. A noisy decision happens in a single moment. The moment passes. What remains is the outcome, and the story we build around it. When a doctor's diagnosis happens to be right, we say they're skilled. When a judge's harsh sentence falls on someone who later reoffends, we say the judge has good instincts. We rarely ask whether the same doctor or the same judge would have decided differently on a different Tuesday. When a noisy decision leads to a bad outcome, we don't conclude that was random. We reach backward through time and construct a story. I knew something was off. Take the 2008 financial crisis. We look at the handful of people who predicted it, the ones who celebrated in The Big Short, and we call them geniuses, while dismissing everyone else as fools. But the world was genuinely uncertain. Hindsight doesn't reveal the truth. It manufactures the illusion that the truth was always obvious. And so we grade decisions by their results rather than the quality of the reasoning that produced them. Good decisions can produce bad outcomes. Lucky guesses can produce great ones. We reward lucky guessing and punish careful thinking. And noise, the silent partner in all of it, slips by unnoticed. Fortunately, researchers try very hard to reduce noise and have found ways to achieve this. For instance, by making decisions more structured and transparent. This is what Kahneman and his colleagues call decision hygiene. For example, instead of letting each person judge freely, you can break a decision into clear steps, use consistent criteria, and delay sharing opinions until everyone has formed their own view independently. The most influential example of decision hygiene in modern medicine is already over 70 years old. In 1953, a doctor named Virginia Apgar created a 5-item checklist for evaluating whether a newborn is healthy: heart rate, breathing, muscle tone, reflexes, skin color, each scored out of 2. Simple. But before it existed, the assessment depended entirely on the judgment of whoever was in the room that day. A simple vote for healthy or unhealthy. After it was introduced, outcomes improved dramatically worldwide. The checklist didn't replace the decision of the doctor. It just made the decision, and how you got there, more transparent, so others could evaluate it accordingly. Similarly, in the hiring domain, structured interviews with standardized questions reduce the randomness of what gets asked. Blind review processes remove information that triggers irrelevant associations. Separating the stages of a decision, gathering information, weighing it, and judging it, prevents early impressions from contaminating later assessments. None of these eliminate human judgment. They simply protect good judgments from noise that can quietly degrade it. Finally, the most powerful tool might also be the most counterintuitive. Let algorithms do more of the deciding. An algorithm, given the same inputs, should always produce the same output. It has zero noise by definition. Decades of research show that simple statistical models consistently outperform expert clinical judgment in domains from psychiatric diagnosis to credit risk. Not because the algorithm is smarter, but because it is consistent. The human expert introduces variability that the model simply doesn't. How far should we take this, and what do we lose when we delegate decisions to machines? That deserves its own full video. If it is already live, you can find it in the info popping up in the top right corner right now. So, to sum up all this, the next time you receive an expert opinion, a diagnosis, a verdict, an evaluation, it's worth asking a quiet question. If I came back tomorrow, would the answer be the same? As we now know, the data suggests it might not be. And that gap, that silent difference between two judgments of the same truth, is exactly where we can see some noise. Now I want to hear from you. Look at your own decisions or your own profession. Where do you see the most hidden noise that no one else is talking about? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this journey with Janus Talks, hit subscribe for more insights into the hidden nature of the world. Thanks for watching.